Hello and welcome to our webinar, DK Spring 2025 School and Library Preview Event. I'm Annie Bostrom, Senior Editor for Adult Books at Booklist. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some technical details. Links to today's slide presentation and title list were included in the reminder email you received from Zoom 1 hour ago. To download them, please open that email, scroll to the bottom, and click on the links located there. You can also download the slides and title list by typing the URLs on this screen into your web browser. If you have any trouble accessing these materials, please contact us at webinars@booklistonline.com. The audience is in listen-only mode, but we welcome any questions you may have. On the bottom of your screen is a toolbar with a button for Q&A. If you have a question or need technical assistance, simply click Q&A and type your message into the box that appears. We will do our best to respond to all tech-related questions, and we'll pass along all other questions to today's panelists so they can follow up with you after the webinar. Booklist offers closed captioning on all webinars. To enable or disable them on your screen, please look for and click the Show Captions icon on the toolbar mentioned earlier. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size of them at any time by selecting Caption Settings. And finally, Booklist expects all participants to maintain an atmosphere of respect and fairness. Anyone who violates this standard of behavior, including engaging in any form of harassment, may, at the discretion of the organizers, be immediately removed. We have a wonderful program for you today, and we will start by handing it over to Rebecca Sang, Marketing Coordinator at DK. Take it away, Rebecca.
Thank you, Annie. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for being here today. I'm Rebecca, the Senior Marketing Associate for School and Library at DK. Like you, I am so excited to hear today's Q&A with author Cecilia Blomdahl of Life on Svalbard. But before that, I'm looking forward to the opportunity to first share with you some of DK's most exciting forthcoming children's and adult titles. Before I begin, I want to mention that if a book or series is available in ebook, this will be mentioned on the slide. Now let's begin with our children's titles. First up is The Green Kingdom by bestselling author Cornelia Funke. Yes, you heard that right, there is a new Cornelia Funke. In this enchanting adventure, 12-year-old Caspia is spending the summer in Brooklyn and she isn't thrilled. She hates big cities, especially New York. But everything changes when Caspia discovers a bundle of letters hidden in an old chest of drawers. Each letter contains a riddle, with clues leading to different plants. Caspia sets out to solve the riddles, and when she does, she discovers, to her surprise, that sometimes you can put roots down where you least expect it. Written in tandem with Tammy Harton, an herbalist and organic farmer, The Green Kingdom is a heartfelt tale of friendship, growth, and transformation. Next, in Make Good Trouble, award-winning writer and activist Jemiah Wilson details over 70 true stories of global activism that changed history, from the Newsboys' strike of 1899 to the Freedom Summer Project of 1964 to Greta Thunberg's first school strike for climate. Brimming with illustrations and additional resources, Make Good Trouble explores how people across different beliefs, ages, and backgrounds have called for change and made a difference. Jemiah Wilson is also on the Penguin Random House staff and is super excited, as are we, about this book. So we'll be looking into plenty of opportunities for her, so stay tuned. Next, written by Kate Griggs, a social entrepreneur and the founder of the dyslexic thinking movement and charity Made by Dyslexia, Extraordinary People is an extraordinary children's book that shifts the narrative on dyslexia. Dyslexic herself, Kate has dedicated her life to teaching the world that dyslexic thinking is a superpower. Crafted with both love and science, Extraordinary People showcases the strengths and powers of dyslexic thinking. Next, My Big Book of Phonics is a visual reference book for all things phonics for children ages 4 to 7. This book is packed with fun illustrations, decodable word banks, mouth placement photos, a sound chart, a glossary, and introductory pages filled with information about phonics for adults. This is the latest addition to DK Superphonics, our series designed to support home learning and help children become skilled and fluent readers. Plus, by now, you're probably aware of phonic books, our range of decodable books for beginner and older readers. Science of Reading is taking the country by storm, and we're continuing to publish new series with great new illustrations and text to support structured literacy instruction. With multiple series, Phonic Books builds on learned letter sound knowledge and paves a structured scaffold that can be effectively integrated into any phonics instruction program. Next spring, we'll be publishing Dandelion Launchers Extra Stages 6 through 20, which is a 10-book set and activity book for young readers, as well as Get Out of the Game, an action-packed 12-book set and activity book for older readers. Plus, a new addition to DK's publishing is Against the Odds, a decodable chapter book series for older readers ages 10 to 14. This action-packed historical fiction series follows the survival arcs of young characters as they face dangerous and riveting historical events. This high-interest, lower reading level series focuses on morphology and provides older readers a vital and engaging reading bridge between decodable texts and more mainstream books. In spring, we'll be publishing the first two books in the series, San Francisco Earthquake 1906 and Animal Attacks. Against the Odds will keep readers at the edge of their seats while also developing essential phonics skills. Aligned with science curriculum, DK Superplanet is a dynamic new series that invites young minds to delve into the mysteries of our planet and beyond. Each book is interactive, featuring engaging content, infographics, hands-on experiments, and specially designed spreads that build scientific vocabulary, making complex concepts accessible to younger readers. The topics covered in the spring releases include ecosystems, continents, farming and food security, biodiversity, and more. Plus, our beloved DK Super Reader series continues onward into 2025. This nonfiction leveled reader series is designed for kids ages 3 to 11 and is divided into 5 levels from pre-level to level 4, all aligned to Lexile measures. In the spring, we'll be publishing DK Super Readers A Day in the Life. The old version of this series have done so well, so we're refreshing them and bringing them into our new series. As you can see, topics covered include firefighters, marine biologists, builders, doctors, and many, many more careers. We'll also be expanding our nonfiction super readers, including titles about the legendary WNBA player Caitlin Clark and the history of everyone's favorite dessert, non-debatable chocolate. Plus, we continue to bring fun licensed titles from kids' favorite fandoms to the series, including DK Super Readers Go Team Spidey and Pokemon Battle Buddies. For more information, be sure to visit the Super Readers website, available on the slide and also on the back of every Super Reader via a QR code. The site holds tons of information and free downloadable resources, all to help kids become the reading heroes they are. Next, I'd like to highlight the new titles coming to the A Kid's Book About series, which explores conversations on the important yet often more difficult parts of life. A Kid's Book About is now fully under the DK umbrella, as we've taken on all of their publishing, so all these incredible books should now be widely available under your preferred wholesaler. Topics in this series are handled mindfully, and the books are meant for children as young as 5. Highlighted here are just a few of the books included in next year's releases, so there's plenty to look forward to. We'll also be publishing A Little Book About, a high-quality board book series for babies and toddlers. With sturdy pages and engaging, colorful illustrations, these little books are the first steps in exploring and sharing conversations about big ideas. Next up are new titles from Rebel Girls. First, we have a brand new, updated edition of the best-selling and beloved Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls. This book details the lives of women and girls who have done extraordinary things, The new edition will feature 12 new stories about incredible women, including activist Amika George, actor Michelle Yeoh, singer-songwriter Taylor Swift, and many more. In Rebel Girl STEM Stars, young readers will meet 25 amazing women in STEM who have paved the way for future scientists everywhere. With easy-to-read text and colorful full-page portraits, these true stories hook readers in with inspiring tales of determination and discovery. Next, we have a gorgeous new title, an anthology of butterflies and moths. This transportable field guide covers these beautiful, delicate creatures from around the world, from the monarch butterfly to the Luna moth and more. An anthology of butterflies and moths is the latest addition to two titles already available, an anthology of rocks and an anthology of fungi. Light and transportable, these books are packed with unique and intriguing specimens, making them the perfect companions for kids who love spotting natural treasures hidden in our everyday world. Now, I'd like to introduce you to a few of DK's reference for kids coming out next spring. Satellites introduces kids to all the ways smart satellites monitors the planet's health and helps us take action. Combining earth science and the latest space tech, this book explores how satellites contribute to discoveries about climate change, deforestation, storm and fire warnings, military maneuvers, new spaceports, space junk, and much more. Astronomical exclamation point, is a cosmic treasure trove of spectacular photographs that capture space as never seen before. Mind-blowing new images takes readers to the heart of the universe, from swirling dust devils on Mars to supermassive storms on Jupiter. Each spread features a celestial body alongside informative text that brings to life the wonders of outer space. And Ancient Egypt is the ultimate book about this fascinating period in history. With breathtaking images, incredible artifacts, and unique illustrations, young readers will travel back in time to the everyday lives of ancient Egyptians. Next, this stunning dictionary for kids ages 7 plus uses clear and simple illustrations to depict words and phrases in an engaging manner. Words are grouped into themed sections that cover practical, everyday topics like city life, sports, ordering food, so that young readers grasp complicated subjects while building their knowledge of the English language. Next up is the incredible Eyewitness Encyclopedia of Animals, a book for animal lovers like no other. Readers will encounter wildlife from deadly predators to beautiful butterflies and meet the zoologists who study them. With a mix of knowledge, fun facts, and incredible images, this extraordinary book will definitely keep kids engaged for hours. Plus, as you may know, we've updated our classic Eyewitness series with a new look and more facts, while still maintaining the well-loved approach of visually stunning and immersive knowledge built around a singular topic. Our new Eyewitness titles coming this spring include DK Eyewitness Vietnam War and Presidents. Plus, DK's Spanish language publishing list continues to grow both on the children's and adult sides. Highlighted here are just a few of this year's forthcoming and latest editions of our DK books in Spanish. Now let's dive into our adult highlights. First up, we have Honey, What Do We Got?, the highly anticipated second cookbook by New York Times bestselling authors Rachel and Tom Sullivan of Meals She Eats. In 2022, the Sullivans launched a TikTok series that playfully tracked the size of their growing baby during Rachel's pregnancy. In answer to Rachel's question, Honey, what do we got?, Tom presented her with a dish featuring an ingredient comparable in size to their baby that week. For instance, when their baby was the size of an eggplant, Tom prepared crispy eggplant tacos. Honey, What Do We Got features over 100 gluten-free and dairy-free recipes, alongside a week-by-week ingredient size chart and trimester-specific advice, offering a fun and fresh way to celebrate all of life's milestones. From the brilliant mind of internationally renowned chef Asma comes Monsoon, a masterclass of a cookbook with over 80 recipes on building flavor through the principles of Indian cooking. From core techniques of roasting and tempering spices to the fundamentals of cooking with ghee and chilies, Monsoon empowers home cooks to make delicious meals from slow-cooked lamb, yum, to rice pulao with oranges and more. Now, everybody's favorite math teacher by day and social media baker by night has arrived with Dessert Course, a cookbook celebration of the art and science of baking. Benjamin the Baker is committed to breaking down the mysteries of baking so that his audience, just like his students, can be equipped to tackle new frontiers with a healthy appetite for learning. Readers will learn about mixing methods and even how to reformulate recipes using Ben's percentages technique. Core recipes like chocolate chip cookies even include flow charts so that you can bake your own adventure. We all know the air fryer has revolutionized the way we cook, and now it's revolutionizing the way we bake. With recipes for brownies, cakes, cobblers, and even bread like focaccia bread, this is the complete guide to baking in your air fryer. Whether you're looking to save time or money, or are simply looking for new recipes to try, baking has never been easier with this cookbook of over 75 delicious and easy recipes. Knowledge is adventure, and with DK, you can always choose a new adventure to go on. In Andres Valencia, Painting Without Rules, step inside the studio of this young artist who astonished the art world with his boldly inventive paintings. In 2021, he became the youngest artist in history to showcase his work at Art Miami, where his large-scale portrait paintings informed by Cubism quickly sold out. Creatives of any age will love this bold and heartwarming look into his creative process and life as a young artist. Birdwatching Guide, published in collaboration with the Smithsonian, takes beginner birders through the birdwatching journey, from backyard discovery to exploring remote wildlife reserves. So whether you're in a city or deep in the country, Birdwatching Guide is the perfect learning tool for building expert skills. Manga, A Visual History, chronicles the evolution of manga from its samurai era beginnings to its meteoric rise today. This book explores key writers and artists who have shaped an entire culture, the iconic characters recognized worldwide, and manga's impact on anime and live action film and TV. Motorcycle traces the history and the allure of this action-packed two-wheeler, from the earliest prototypes to iconic superbikes of the modern age. Featuring the technological developments of over 1,000 machines alongside their cultural impact, this is the ideal read for motorsport enthusiasts. Next, featured here are the latest upcoming books to DK's beloved Big Idea series, the science book and the military history book. With striking visuals and engaging writing, this iconic series makes big topics easy to digest and understand. Next up, we have a few exciting gardening titles. So, Grow Food Anywhere breaks down gardening environments from indoor to outdoor spaces. With photographs of plants, diagrams of different zones, and a troubleshooting guide, this book will truly enable gardeners to grow food anywhere. Propagating plants is the ultimate guide to filling your garden with plants. From fruit trees and ornamental shrubs to exotic orchids and succulents, this comprehensive guide offers tutorials and straightforward advice on propagating over 1,500 plants. Grow Your Groceries shares the best 40 hacks to saving money and growing plants, yes, from your groceries. If you've ever wondered what to do with leftover apple seeds or herbs besides throwing them away, this book offers tips and tricks to getting long-term windowsill plants, all from short-term purchases. The Greenhouse Book is the one-stop shop to greenhouse gardening, from initial planning to extending the growing season. Whether you have a small patio greenhouse or a giant indoor garden, this book provides gardeners a clear, illustrative approach to all things growing. Now, the latest addition to DK's popular Science of series is Science of Yoga. The new edition of this book contains the latest scientific research and physiology of 30 key yoga poses. With annotated artworks and a Q&A section, Science of Yoga offers practical tips on optimizing the benefits of yoga while also achieving technical excellence. Next, discover every facet of life in ancient Greece, from detailed maps to exploration of arts, schools of thoughts, medicine, and religious beliefs. Specially commissioned CGI recreations alongside artifacts and eyewitness accounts bring to life the stories of policymakers, ordinary citizens, the first Olympic athletes, and many more. Exploration, map by map, takes readers on a visual journey, from the early humans 50,000 years ago to the voyages of Polynesian sailors in 4000 BCE to the California gold rush, the space race, and beyond. Packed with detail and illustrations, Exploration Map by Map charts the complicated and epic history of human exploration and migration. Now, speaking of journeys around the world, let's now chat about some travel. DK has exciting new additions to the popular Eyewitness Top 10 series with up-to-date themed lists of 10 that cover the best of each city. These pocket-friendly guides will help you make the most of your travel. Plus, new additions to our eyewitness travel guides include Amsterdam, Argentina, Lisbon, and more. With practical tips and maps, this series ensures you won't miss a thing on your adventure around the world. Plus, hit the open road with 50 once-in-a-lifetime drives from road trips in Europe. From the coast of Scotland to Germany's romantic road, this book details all the key stops, driving durations and destinations, road conditions, landmarks, and more for the ultimate road trip around Europe. Plus, we have a new series to DK, Mini Map and Guide. In the spring, we'll be publishing pocket-sized guides for London, New York City, Paris, and Amsterdam. With easy pull-out maps, color-coded area guides, illustrations, and essential travel tips, these mini guides are the smart way to get around the big city. I also want to quickly shout out DK's New York Times bestselling books of 2023 and 2024 listed on this slide, and all of them are, of course, available now. And, of course, we have the newest addition to our New York Times bestselling list. That's right, it's the main event you've been waiting for, Life on Svalbard by Cecilia Blomdahl. In just a few minutes, you'll be hearing more from the author herself, but let me be the first to sing the praises of her book. Chances are you've seen Cecilia's enchanting social media videos of her life on Svalbard, a wintry archipelago near the North Pole. With spectacular photography and personal stories, Cecilia's journey begins in the darkness of the polar night, and the beauty of Svalbard is revealed as sunlight returns months later. Wherever you live, Life on Svalbard will provide a deeper understanding into living in extreme environments and perhaps help readers find the hidden magic of where they live too. So stay tuned for Cecilia's Q&A coming up in just a minute to hear more from the author herself. Now to end, here's just a quick reminder to follow DK on social media to stay up to date with our latest books, sweepstakes, offerings. Plus, for any school librarians, be sure to check out our EDU-focused social channels and website, DK Learning, which is packed with free downloadables, lesson plans, and lots more. Thank you so much for joining us today and for all that you do for your patrons and communities. And now I am so excited to pass this back to Booklist for the Q&A portion with author Cecilia Blomdahl. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that presentation, Rebecca. And I am so thrilled to have author Cecilia Blomdahl with us here today to talk about her new book, Life on Svalbard. Cecilia Blomdahl is originally from Sweden and moved to Svalbard in 2015. Her social media journey began when she started posting content online about living in an environment where polar bears rule the tundra and winter is spent in complete darkness. She has amassed more than 4 million followers across YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Cecilia's content focuses on daily life on Svalbard in a positive and educational way. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Cecilia.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
And I just want everyone to be sure they know that that is a real fire behind you.
This is not a background. I am in this
Not
room.
so like Life on Svalbard, the book is organized around the seasons. I think there's 5 seasons. And I was wondering if you could walk us through those seasons, and why don't we start with the one that you're in right now?
Yes. So when I moved to Svalbard 9 years ago, I came here in November, which is in the middle of the polar night. And I had never been to Svalbard before. I had never even really heard about this island. And I arrived in pitch black darkness. 24/7, no light whatsoever. So it really wasn't until a few weeks or even months later that I actually saw where I had moved to. And it was the wildest feeling the first time we had a full moon. I looked across like down the valley and I'm like, wait, wait, wait. There's an ocean here. There's an ocean here. Imagine like coming to a place having no idea what's around you. So my idea for the book straight away was I have to have readers in, go through the seasons like I did, like to really see it go from dark to light. So it starts in the polar night, which is when we have 24/7 darkness, like now. So this is what it looks like all day long until February-ish. And then we have this season, which is kind of like a micro season called pastel winter. You can also call it kind of like blue hour season. And that is when our world, as soon as the light kind of returns, everything goes blue. It's twilight for hours a day. And that's why we call it pastel, because it turns into this blue pink. And your whole world is this for a few hours every day. Just coming from that darkness to that color, it like it doesn't even feel real. It feels like you can touch it, you know? And then in April, polar day arrives. And that is when we have 24-hour 7 daylight. Then we have that for a few months. So that starts in winter and then that goes into summer. And then we have the briefest period again, which is like a micro season called golden autumn, we call it. Because when it goes from summer before it goes to autumn, or like winter again, it becomes completely orange. Everything, the tundra, we don't have any trees. So it's basically the tundra and the light again because we get these sunsets once again. So everything is this golden glow. And then it's back to polar night. So it's very specific seasons.
Very specific seasons, and having the book organized that way, I thought really puts you there because one of the things that I was just struck by over and over was like, this is just so unlike my life. And I have a feeling, many of your followers certainly, and many of the people who will read this book will feel the same. So, yeah, there were just so many surprises, and your followers already know you prefer Polar Night, which
Yes.
after reading the book, I get it. I do get it. But if you would have just told me that, I never would have believed you. But even after reading your book, I feel like I'm only starting to imagine how extreme the seasons are there. So I'm curious, how did you know that you could handle this kind of adventurous life and life of extremes? And are there any, memories that kind of pop out where you're like, oh yeah, I could do this. I could stick with this.
So I was born in Sweden and I grew up in Gothenburg, which is on the west coast. So it's not very north, but we still had very dark winters. So I feel like I thought, I'm used to winter and somewhat dark winters. And then I just didn't really think about it, to be honest. I'm not a person who really plans at all. And I think mostly I don't limit myself to things that I don't know. Like how do I know if I'm going to be great at this? We're going to have to find out. That's my kind of like thinking. So I just thought, well, I'm going to move here. And my original plan was for a few months. And I'm just going to see what it's like. Like, I'll figure it out. And I'm here 9 years later. But I never really thought that Polar Night would end up being my favorite. I just think that it's so much easier in a weird way. Polar Day is beautiful, but 4 months of endless daylight makes you go a little bit mad. You
Yeah, there's
know,
a lot of things you have to do to get your body and like to understand
exactly.
that it's
So
nighttime, right?
Yeah, you're full of energy all the time. And I find it more difficult, like the peace within myself to calm down during that time of year, even though it's beautiful and you have so many opportunities that I do love. But during the polar night, it's like a long Christmas. Everything is cozy. We have the open fires. I just feel like it speaks to my winter soul and like the calmness. And I love reading books, and it's like the perfect season for that. So I think I just love this also because it's crazy. It's so unique.
Is
So
it hard to
every
wake
day,
up in the polar night?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm really bad at getting up in the morning. So this for me is terrible. But one good thing is, since I work for myself, I have adjusted my schedule to the seasons. And this season is just as long as I sleep the right amount of hours, it doesn't really matter when it is. That's my new thinking. My boyfriend is like that. I keep saying he's a Viking. He can sleep, he just counts the hour, doesn't matter when it is. And I'm like, I'm gonna have to be a bit more like that. You just have to, kind of like go with the seasons.
Yeah, adapt and yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Um, so your voice really comes across in the book, and I was wondering if you would mind reading a little bit from the book so that people could hear
Yes,
it.
of course.
So I was thinking the second paragraph on page 200.
From Svalbard Seasons.
Yes.
Do you want me to read the whole thing there?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is on golden autumn. It's when it's turning golden. So we're going towards polar night here. Svalbard seasons are exceptionally intense and all-encompassing. After basking in 4 months of uninterrupted daylight, we welcome our first sunset on August 25th. Since the start of the polar day season on April 19th, we've lived through 128 days without a single glimpse of the night sky. While I always rejoice at the return of the sun in February, I also find solace in its departure. The endless daylight, though stunning, can be taxing on both body and soul. In Sweden, we use the word lagom to describe something akin to having just enough. Svalbard, however, embodies the antithesis of lagom, as it often can feel like we have too much of one kind of thing. It's a land of extremes, from months of relentless sunshine straight to the unforgiving darkness of polar night. Svalbard knows no moderation.
I love that. I loved especially that there is a Swedish word for it, and you're like, but this is the opposite.
Yeah, the
Um,
Swedish word lagom is, you can't even translate it. So it's a really good word. It's very Swedish as well. It's just enough.
mhm.
And this place has none of it.
Too much, a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, there's another line that I highlighted. It was in the chapter about Polar Day. And you said, navigating on Svalbard waters is akin to any other activity in the archipelago, potentially dangerous without the proper expertise or gear. So maybe I'm just, betraying my own fears here, but this it just sounds so intimidating to live in a place like that. Um, so the the date like and one of the dangers in particular that I was totally surprised by that you talk about right away is when you leave the house, you have to have proper protection in case you should run into a polar bear. And I know this is a very regulated system and world, and you have a great anecdote about, somebody sees a polar bear and you call the authority, and then they track it and make sure, and it never knows that anyone's watching it, and it just goes about its day. But tell us a little bit about that. Like, is it the first time you had to go for a walk carrying a shotgun to protect yourself? Was it like, do you count on never having to use it, or you just like, how do you feel about that responsibility?
It's crazy how quickly you get used to something. I don't even think twice about, slinging my shotgun or my rifle across my back and just going for a dog walk. But I think it also comes down to I know what I'm capable of when it comes to it, but also I don't know at all what a situation would be like if I would meet a polar bear. So it's not even worth worrying that much about. Generally, also we have to I go by statistics. So far in 9 years, I've never met a polar bear when walking. I feel like that sets me up for like it's gonna be fine. But otherwise, Svalbard is very much there are a lot of dangers, and the dangers are nature. But that's also
Yeah.
exciting. So it's all about learning. When you go snowmobiling, I mean, you're driving on glaciers, you're driving over valleys and everything. And that comes down to what do I know about snow? What do I know about weather? So in the 9 years I've lived here now, I've had to learn a lot. And again, I wouldn't even go snowmobiling on my own. That's how much I respect the nature. I Because it can be so dangerous. So it's a mix of everything. You do get used to it, but you also have to learn a lot and you have to study things to get better. And then the more you do, the more confident you become. Like I'm
Mm.
really confident hiker because I've done it so much on my own. So everything
Yeah.
depends on what you kind of set yourself up to. But we're a lot more capable than you think, or in general, we are a lot more capable than we think, if you know what I mean.
Right. Right. So, back to the original question, it's kind of like the shotgun is like a seatbelt. It's like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just, yeah, that's the safety.
definitely. You still go out in traffic, you still, hope for the best, but you never know what the outcome could be. And it's not
Yeah.
worth really worrying about more than I know what to do if I meet one. I know ish how I have to behave, and I'm just gonna go by that.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
crazy though that I have to bring a gun when I walk my dog. It still is
Crazy.
like, what?
Has were, information like that, was that something you learned through like the community once you moved there, or like how did you, kind of amass your skills about living on Svalbard besides experience?
So in the beginning, I lived in the village and I didn't even have a snowmobile, which is something that's kind of vital here to be able to go outside of the village because we don't have any roads. So I didn't have that for like the first 2 years. So I've done everything kind of like one by one. As soon as you come to the village, you do learn a lot. And the first thing you learn about is the polar bear protection and everything. But getting a firearm isn't just super easily done. So you have to do a course and everything. So every step on the way does help you a lot towards becoming this confident person that you kind of need to be when out and about. But otherwise, a lot of people here are very interested in outdoor life, and it's kind of like the same type of people that move here. So there's a lot of good people around that you can ask, and the community is great also with telling people like how to do things. If I ever wonder about something like a hike, I can write on our Facebook page and I can write, does somebody have the tracks on this hike or something to tell me about it? There will be 15 people giving me notes what to think about when doing this hike. So I really loved that since day one up here. People are always ready to help. But you just have to really take that help and then also there are so many different activities you can do. You don't have to do them all. Do you know what I mean? If you want to be a
Yeah.
hiker, you can do that. Or if you want to do snowmobiling or you just want to be here to not do any of it, that's also fine.
Yeah. I think it was in one of your videos you said how uh, everyone who's in Svalbard has like chosen to be there, that
Yeah.
you actually can't even be born on Svalbard. I'm sure it's happened accidentally a few times, but that pregnant people are meant to leave the island
One
weeks
month
ahead of
before,
1 month.
yeah, about 1 month before, whenever so the hospital don't have the facilities for childbirth. So since I think, is it a decade or two, people don't give birth up here. And before that, there was no indigenous population. So everybody who is here have chosen to be here, which is why there's, I think, such a good vibe in the village because there's always that choice.
Yeah, it
If
seems
you
like
don't
that.
want,
Yeah, just a lot of intention behind
yeah,
being there, and then like loving to share that knowledge and advice with the community.
yeah,
Um, that
definitely.
sense it really comes across in your book too. Um, and another surprise was that despite the fact you already live so close to the North Pole, you like to go even farther north on your like adventures. So tell us a little bit about the Norwegian, the Hyttetur. Is that what it's called?
Hittetur, yes.
Yes.
Oh, cabin culture. I'm Swedish, which is very similar to Norwegian. The countries are just bordering each other. But Norway, they have a lot of outdoor culture that I feel like Sweden may not have as much. And one thing is cabin culture. And this is core Norwegian. So even though you live in the city, or if you live in Norway, even if you're out in the country, you have a cabin. And it's called a hytta. And that's where they go with their friends and family. And often there's no electricity or modern amenities. You just go there and you have fun and you drink and you eat and you do it here on Svalbard as well. But the difference is here that all of the small cabins are scattered across the island. And they're not many, there's like 14 and they're 100 years old. And you have to get there somehow, which is basically snowmobile. Some of them are accessible in summer. But so you go on a cabin trip with your friends, and just getting there can be, 6 hours one way and minus 30 degrees. And then you spend the weekend there just hanging out, cooking food, going skiing. And I think it always baffles people because we now also had the possibility to buy one of these cabins out in the field. People are like, you live in a remote cabin, but you go to hang out in a remote cabin. I'm like, yes, I don't see the problem. This is home. This is modern to me. So we love just going completely off grid. You turn off your phone, there's no phone reception whatsoever, and you just go down to the basics. You just
Yeah.
enjoy each other's company and drink coffee, and it's just an adventure. Very Svalbard and very Norway.
And you have to take everything with you,
Oh,
obviously.
yeah.
But the firewood, all your food, um,
Petrol for the snowmobiles, and you have to calculate how long are we going, how long are we going to be gone, what happens when we get, or when mostly we get stuck in a snowstorm. This has happened. So you need extras of everything. Like what happens if a polar bear breaks in or eats all your food? Like where's the extra food? So it's a lot of planning. And I must say that when it comes to all of this, my boyfriend Christopher has always been a huge help because he's been here longer than me and he's always been on a lot of these trips. And that's how I've learned so much about this because it's a lot of knowledge. You have to know so much. Packing a
when
sled.
you travel south of the Arctic Circle, are you just like, life is so easy down here?
100%. When I go to my parents in Portugal and I'm like on my way out the door and I'm like, I'm missing something. And then I'm like, no, I'm free.
Totally. Um, so you share your journey about, and you mentioned it earlier just now about kind of getting to Svalbard just sort of one step at a time. Like, I love it here, and and here you are 9 years later. Um, and you also talk about deciding to document your life with the photos and video content and like a drone camera, or I don't know if it's a drone that you put the camera on. I don't know these things, but these photos are so beautiful. And like we saw from the spreads and all of your content online. But your material is also a lot about educating people about Svalbard and the history of the place. And, the fact that I know that you have to take all your stuff with you is from watching your content. And just why is it important to you to not just, share the visuals, but also to have this um, this education that people can get in a fun way?
I think I always make content that I myself would like. I think that's the easiest way to go about stuff. And I just find everything here endlessly fascinating. Like, I don't even know what it is, but just the fact that there is civilization up here. Somebody found this island and we're like, oh, we're going to break coal here in the middle of nowhere in the Arctic. And somebody's like, that's a great idea. Let's do that. And I just find it's so much fun to put an educational twist on content because it gives it so much more depth. I love everyday life, don't get me wrong. But also, if I just post a regular day life, there are so many questions that I get. So I think that's also what sparked it. In the beginning, when I started, to get to know kind of my audience and what I'm doing, I didn't anticipate becoming this educational, I think. But as many videos, like when I posted more videos and people were asking so much, it became so easy because then I wanted to reply. I'm like, wait a minute, how do we get wood up here? Which is one of the most like common questions I get. Like, we have no trees, but I have a rack of wood. How is that possible? So it just became a bit of answering questions that I get in the comments and making sure that people also get the whole idea. And then I started digging deeper into some different subjects. Like, I posted a video of going into the mine recently, which I thought was so interesting. And I do not think in the beginning that that would have been a video that I would have done. I would have never foresaw that. But it's just kind of like finding new subjects and new things, and it just never really ends. It's interesting.
So when I saw your video of the mine, I thought about how you mentioned that you don't like the we'll call them the scary glacier. You don't like to go into, if you're
Oh,
doing glacier, you like
yeah,
to do the
true.
more
Why do
open.
I like the mine?
So why did you do that? I mean, how scary was that? Not why did you do it? I know why you did it, but or was it not
So
scary?
not at all. So what we're talking about here is the fact that we have small glacier caves here on Svalbard. Well, you can go into any glacier really, but they always start with a hole that is man-sized. And then you go into a glacier and it's all dark and it's really small. And do you know what I think I don't like it is because it's uncontrolled. I think
Yeah.
that that's super scary because you're literally going into a moving glacier and you're going down very far into the ice. But going into the mine, I found so fascinating because they are there every day working. This is their job. And at one point, they have it's 4 feet of roof or up to the roof. So they have to walk hunched over and do their job. And I was like, this is crazy. But
Crazy.
it's kind of like getting on an airplane. It's out of my control when I'm in there. And I chose
Yeah.
that because, they're in there every day. So I thought that would be interesting to document. But I really
Was
liked
that
mine.
did you say that was a result of kind of followers' questions, or how did that
I
hold to
think that
come
one
to
was
pass?
me actually, because I wanted to show the start of Longyearbyen. Because I've touched the history here and there, but I haven't really shown the coal, which is the whole reason the village is here from at all. So I thought it was a good or interesting video. Also, coal mining as a job. I mean, that's
Yes.
crazy in day
Yeah.
and age. Like
So,
what? Yeah, so
mhm.
it's a mix. That one I think was me.
So how, besides that you didn't have to be in a coal mine writing the book, how did the experience of writing this book and I think, did you also record the audiobook?
Yeah.
So how, like, talk a little bit about that experience versus the content that you've been making now for years. How was it different, and maybe how was it the same too?
I feel like this book in the beginning was like when I picked up a vlog camera for the first time and I realized, oh no, I'm gonna have to actually do this also. Do you know what I mean? Like in theory, it sounds great, but wait a minute, here I am on the blank page and I have to do it. Like the first time I picked up a vlog camera, I had 0 words. I didn't know what to say. Like I didn't like I'm talking to myself. Like, how am I supposed to do this? So that was like my first few days of a freak out with my blank page. And I'm like, oh no, oh no. But then I got it together and I started writing things. I did it the way that I do my YouTube videos, which is basically put things down, start, and then don't freak out, take it from there. Piece things together. It doesn't have to be perfect in the beginning. And I've always had a little bit of a dream of writing a book. I never knew what kind of book it was going to be. I just always have dreamed of the process of creating something that's that big in a way, like as a project. So it was equally scary as it was so much fun. My editor Alex from DK probably is the one who I should thank the most because every meeting we had was a pep talk. And that's basically all I needed. I needed just him to say that you can do this. Like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
But it was so much fun. What I really liked and enjoyed with being able to do a book is to do the illustrations, to have the possibility of really showing like the science behind Northern Lights. I really liked that. And also creating the kind of stories in the chapters, since the chapters are a bit shorter, to be able to weave in some history or my personal thoughts and, in a kind of like good package. But
Yeah,
it
so I
was,
was
yeah.
that was one thing I was going to mention is, because this is a DK book, anyone who's familiar won't be surprised that there are amazing images and also all these cool infographics.
Yeah, infographics. Yeah. Because
Um,
I'm like, how do I get it was kind of like the way I think about other content. How do I tell you what I want to tell you? Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
How do I do this without it being overcomplicated and words everywhere?
exactly.
And I was
Yeah,
like,
and
well, illustrations.
illustrations and just, we can't all understand things the same way. And, it's not going to help
Yeah.
our readers today, but this like image just made the polar night and polar day totally make sense. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, and that's why it's just this little part of the globe, even though it's, yeah, it's all
Yeah,
very
because we don't
complicated.
think that we're on an angle, you know?
Right.
And what's crazy also is that I lived in Sweden, which is so close to Svalbard, and I had never heard of Svalbard. I had never heard of Polar Night. And it blows my mind that it's so easy to just not know about something. Did you know? That's what I feel about it. Like, how did I not know?
Yeah.
And that's how I
Right.
feel
Well, I
about
think,
some things.
yeah, I mean, I think, we just, or we just don't realize it goes so extreme if we know anything about it. Like we
Yeah.
just, um, So when you were writing this and, kind of compiling all these things and seeing the book in progress, was there anything that surprised you? Any facts you learned about Svalbard while writing that you were like, what?
What?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm trying to think. I don't think so because I really chose the subjects for this that I have spoken about quite a lot before. Maybe one thing, but I spoke to Kari Leibowitz, and she's done a book called How to Winter, which is so interesting. And I spoke to her actually for her book, but I mentioned it in mine as well, that she has done some science behind how important a good mindset is for a successful winter. And that I think, which I also put into this and read a bit more about, I find endlessly fascinating. That it's actually documented that if you do have a good mindset going into something like a polar night, it will it will generate a better result. I think that was incredibly fascinating. So I loved being able to mention that as well because it kind of adds to what I talk about why I love Polar Night is because I go into it, this is going to be amazing. And it
Yeah.
like I do also generally do think that, but it also helps kind of like loving on it a little bit extra.
Yeah. My husband, as soon as your book was in the house, he was like, I want to do this. And he had read the part about all it takes is a good attitude. And he's like, I could do it. I know I could do it. He's from Wisconsin, which in the US is like, a northern, he's from northern Wisconsin, but I'm not sure if I'm strong enough yet, but I would love to visit, which reminds me, we got a question from our audience today. Is it a good place to visit? Is it set up for travelers and visitors with places to stay and stuff?
Absolutely. You have a bunch of different hotels in the village. You also have lots of agencies doing different tours. I think the most important thing is research the seasons and then decide. So first decide when you're going and then take everything after that because that's going to decide a lot of what you do in terms of activities. Like the summer is perfect if you want to do boat tours, see whales, be out in the sunshine, mild temperatures. But if you want to go snowmobiling, you only have those small months, that is pastel winter and start of sunny winter. So it's a really good place to visit. It really
And your
is.
your book will help people so much decide what time they want to visit, should they?
Exactly, because it tells you a little bit of what you can do and the temperatures, and
Yeah.
it will help.
I think we have time for like one more question, but it's a really important question and one I was going to ask anyway, but we've heard from our audience as well. But I'll admit the one fact I was completely shocked by is that there are no cats allowed on Svalbard. And I totally understand the reason after reading it, but you probably understand the library and cat communities are very intertwined in the US. Um, and so that would take some getting used to, but you found a friend who more than makes up for the no cats rule. So we need to hear about
Grim.
your dog.
Grim. I would have loved him to have him here, but he's been banned, unfortunately, from these type of events due to previous behavior. He will sit and talk, or he will just he's too much excitement. So we'll have to, he'll come up next time. But yes, so I met Grim here and I basically stole him from my friend, which is probably the most beautiful thing someone has ever done is allow me and Grim to fall in love and become besties. I met him when I worked at Huset, which was my first job up here. And ever since that day, when you look into the eyes of an animal and you're like, oh, wait a minute, we speak the same language. It doesn't happen often. Look at him. And I've never had a dog before. I've been a cat person all my life. And then I met Grim and I'm like, what on earth is this beautiful little thing? He's very weird, very strange, very energetic. And we just match. Yeah, so I got to adopt him from my friend. And he moved out here to the cabin with me. And he's now 9 years old. Wait a minute, 8, 9. I should know this. I'm going to go ahead and say 9. He's 9 years old, missing a few teeth, getting a little bit older, but we don't speak about that either. But he's beautiful. And especially a place like this, I realize how important having an animal is. Like it adds so much to your daily life. Like in Polar Night, you go out on your walks together. It brings me outside a lot more and it makes like everything I do so much more fun.
Do you notice how the seasons affect him? Do they?
Oh, absolutely. In the beginning of every extreme season, like Polar Day, he has no idea what time it is. So he will wake us up at like 4 in the morning. He's like, guys, I have an idea. Should we wake up? How about food? So in the beginning of Polar Night is the same. He's like, food at 2 p.m. Anybody? Dinner? And he's also a little bit scared of the dark, which I find hilarious. So in the beginning of Polar Night, he will lay very close to the cabin. He's like, you can't fool me. But he is the cutest, and I'd say he goes about life with zero idea what is actually going on. So he's just happy to be here, but he's
Yeah, it's
definitely
very
confused.
admirable. That seems like another healthy outlook. Just zero
Yes,
idea.
just be happy. Just like
Just
don't
be
worry too
happy.
much. He has zero worries. Well, he does have many worries actually. He can't walk on floors. That's
Oh,
one. Yeah. That's a big no-no. So he stays only here. It's very good for us. He never moves. We always know where he is. But he is the cutest, and I'm so happy to have him.
a couple of people asked how he is adjusted to the new spot, which maybe means your new cabin.
Oh, yes. It was a bit traumatic in the beginning because it only has floors. And he was also like, I've never been here before. I don't know what is this place. But now we've also named the new cabin Grimbu, which means grim cabin basically, and he's loving it now. But it did take him a few times to kind of like understand that this is a place that he is staying at. But now he's starting to own it. He's proud sitting in front of the cabin. He's looking at all the reindeer like, I can see you. I can see you. So in the beginning he was a little bit freaked out, but now he's very happy.
Oh, that's great. Well, I'm so glad we got to talk about Grim. He's a star. I should have bookmarked all the pictures of him beforehand so that I would have them ready, but he's a star of the book. It's been so fun to talk to you, and your book is such a treasure that I think um, people will not be able to put down once they start flipping through and just being like,
Yeah.
"What?"
I think also what's good about it is that it's like I've seen people give it to their children, that it's pretty like not maybe young kids, but I think also for teenagers and stuff like that. I think they can learn quite a lot from,
Oh yeah.
the
I mean,
illustrations and seeing.
the illustrations are amazing. I don't know if you'd heard it all, but that we'd been having more northern lights in the US than like ever
Yes.
before in the past few months. So
Yeah,
people were like
crazy.
freaking out. And here it's like you can't go outside without seeing the northern lights. And I
Yeah.
think I think people will be pretty amazed by the photos that you're able to capture. So thank you so much for being here today. I know it's late there, so even though it's always dark, I know it is actually late
Yeah.
there.
It is still late. Yes. Thank you so
Um,
much for having me. This was so much fun.
thank you, thank you. And another thank you to Rebecca Sang. I'm sorry, I hit the wrong button. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Another huge thank you to Rebecca Sang and, of course, to Cecilia Blomdahl. Tomorrow, all attendees will receive an email containing links to today's slide presentation, title list, certificate of completion, and the video recording. For more info about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit booklistonline.com/webinars, where you can view archives of past webinars and register for upcoming ones like those you see here. Attention all library workers, educators, booksellers, and students. We have a special subscription offer exclusive to webinar attendees. Subscribe to Booklist now and stay on top of the latest books, glean readers' advisory guidance, and get collection development advice through print and digital editions of Booklist and access to Booklist online. Plus, our Booklist subscription now comes with free digital and shareable copies of our new product for patrons, Booklist Reader. Scan the QR code or visit our website for more details. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. One more huge thank you to Cecilia Blomdahl and to our sponsor, DK. This concludes today's webinar. See you next time.